Thank you, everyone. As Craig mentioned, my name is Manish Rai, and I head up product marketing for next-gen products at Automation Anywhere. And as Craig said a couple of weeks ago, we had the largest Series A round of funding in the history of enterprise software, raising $250 million at $1.8 billion in valuation. And how many of you are very familiar with robotic process automation, RPA? So I see a few hands going up, but I would say about a quarter of you. So I'll give you a quick tutorial and overview of RPA so you guys get a better flavor of it and how it's helping creating a cognitive autonomous enterprise. It's unfortunately one of our customers, Madhu Rajan, who was on the agenda and scheduled to join us, couldn't make it at the last minute. He was pulled into, but I'll cover his case study as well to make it real for you for your environment. So we're going to talk about RPA, the digital workforce, a Fortune 500 company, and cognitive automation solutions that help enable that. But before you get in, I think we'd heard here today about accelerating pace of disruption and technology and digitization happening. And I can relate to it in my own life. I grew up in a small, rural, Midwestern town, the Midwest of India. Very similar. Maybe instead of a few thousand people, we had a few 100,000 people in that rural town, but otherwise very similar. In fact, when I grew up till the early 90s, my phone number was 9. And we had to use switchboards. And when I first came to America, my parents had to book a call, and 2 hours later, AT&T will maybe connect us, or maybe the next day they'll connect us. So there was no direct dialing. And I went to a boarding school for high school, and when I would come back from the train station, I had to take a carriage home. It was called Tanga. I would take home. So that was my journey. And as you know, India is a little bit behind the curve, so we would recycle everything out of necessity to save money. So we had a guy called Raddiwala who'll come once a month, and we'll sell him everything and recycle newspaper. He'll buy for some money, the newspaper, the bottles, and everything. And why I'm telling you that is that about 5-6 years back, when I went back to the town, then more than half the people had cell phones. And in fact, the same Raddiwala will come, and instead of coming up, he'll call on the cell phone, do you have anything to recycle? And he'll move on. So he was moving into the digital age. And today, that same Raddiwala sends a WhatsApp message. So he's optimizing his route. So before he even comes there, he WhatsApp people to figure out if they have something to sell him. So the pace of innovation is going up very fast, even in developing countries. And you as enterprise, you have to figure out how to embrace that pace and move at the same pace or be disrupted by a young upstart that is coming up and building the next digital enterprise. Companies like Lemonade, companies are cropping up in every industry that are building a complete digital enterprise from the ground up. So we started 14 years ago, and our founders asked a simple question, that we have been innovating faster and faster. And as Brian mentioned, the Moore's Law has been around for a long time. Why, after 20 years of innovation and automation, less than 20% of the tasks that can be automated have been automated? We've gone through multiple disruptions from operating systems to ERP to cloud, and we're going through machine learning right now. So there's still a big gap between what can be automated and what is being automated. It's because we are leveraging programmers. We have had a top-down approach where IT and the programmers are tasked with installing those systems and enabling and putting them in place. And today, IT has a growing backlog. the pace of innovation going so much, and the workload on the IT is extremely high, while they have been able to automate 20% of the stuff, people are doing 80% of the rest. They are manually cutting and pasting information into IT systems all the time. The genesis of digital workforce was, what if we empowered everyone else to go out and automate the repetitive tasks they had faced? How the software could simulate human behavior to an intelligent software that can take that work and perform that as a bot. Why that's important is, in enterprises, you are deploying new systems all the time, but the old ones are not going away. So 80% of the enterprise systems have no APIs. The only way to integrate with them is through the UI layer, going through simulating mouse clicks and keystrokes to go integrate with that. And that was the key insight, creating software that can work in a federated model where IT deploys the software, gives them all the control, the governance, and security to satisfy the largest of enterprises, but empowers the business users. Business users who are process experts to create bots. If you can enable somebody who knows how to use Excel to create bots, that's what RPA is all about. So the new model in this RPA world is, the old model was, if you have a task to perform, you create a job requisition. You hire somebody. Facilities will give them a laptop or desktop. Then you create a login into the system, and you train those people. The new model in the digital workforce is, you create a bot to perform that task. You provision a virtual machine to perform that task, and you create a logical access just like any human being you would give to the system. And then you train the bot and deploy it, and you have automated that task. And that is what's different, and that is why RPA industry is growing so fast. That's why Goldman Sachs and NEA and the largest private equity company that invested in Uber, Airbnb, and Alibaba invested in us in a larger Series A round. Because we are creating software platform where bots interact with systems just like human. You don't need to change any process or system. Business users are empowered to build a bot. We have a company, a large, well-known telecom company. They have created this federated model where every employee in the company has been trained. They have 3,000 bot developers today, and they have 2,000 bots in production in a matter of a few years. And last time we talked to them, they said they're saving $100 million a year using our technology. That's the power of a digital workforce. And they gave an example of, they got an intern to work over there, and they empowered him to build a bot. And he built a bot which changed the billing tier. Instead of once a month, he wrote a bot that could change the billing tier once a day. Suddenly, they had $7 million extra revenue coming. So it's not just about cost saving, it's about creating additional revenue out there. But RPA is just the beginning, because we as human beings, what does a real workforce do? We perform certain standard repetitive tasks. We think, and we analyze. And we being humans, we take a break and have coffee, right? So we've tried to create a model of a digital workforce that mirrors the human beings, where you can create bots that can automate repetitive tasks. But the modern digital workforce platform needs to have cognitive capability, machine learning, and AI to think and learn from other humans and interact with human beings. And then we need embedded analytics to analyze both how the bots are doing and what the bots are doing in real time. So that's our vision of digital workforce that has been embraced by a lot of you, and it's a powerful vision. So where do these different automation technologies fit into the automation spectrum? So if you look at any study, it's a very well-known fact that 20% of a typical enterprise's data is structured, but 80% is unstructured. This includes semi-structured data hidden in documents, invoices, POs, mortgage applications, explanation of benefits, statements, and so on and so forth. In some industries, like banking, insurance, and healthcare, semi-structured is the majority of the document. Others, you have unstructured images, emails, and so forth. So RPA works well with structured data, but you need cognitive technology for the unstructured, the remaining, and that builds a complete solution, and you need embedded analytics. So now, let me switch. So what are the benefits, truly? I think a lot of people talk about the primary benefit being labor cost savings. But a recent study we did with an analyst firm that found the pinnacle enterprises, the best enterprises, actually less than 2% impact on labor by using RPA technology. So why is that? Because most of the employees, actually, we human beings hate repetitive work. We don't enjoy it. We'd rather bots do it. We love that bots have taken over. We are happier doing more of the creative work. And they are able to get to more higher value work. When you free them up from repetitive work, they can free up and use that time for higher work, quality work, and accelerate other parts of the business, contribute to revenue growth and higher productivity. Other benefits are cost savings, flexible labor workforce. Bots don't need coffee breaks. Improved compliance, controls, and accountability, and in the end, happier employees. So now let's look at the case study that Madhu was going to talk about. This is a Fortune 500 company that's based in Silicon Valley, about $6 billion in revenue and 10,000 employees. They started thinking about RPA about the middle of last year in Q2. They did a POCs with 3 vendors in Q3. And at the end of Q4 in December, they decided to go with Automation Anywhere. And they started developing the first 5 to 10 bots, very typical of many of our customers. And one of the processes they were looking to automate was order-to-cash process. They had 50 full-time employees involved in this process. But the biggest challenge was they are a B2B company, just like Automation Anywhere. And as we know, all of us in IT are great in anticipating end of quarters and negotiating our deals on the last week and last day to get the best pricing. So they had a very high spike in order volume in the last couple of weeks, and they'll have to get temporary workers to process these orders. They were performing a lot of complicated validations, 16 different validations. So it was a highly complex process. Initially, they deployed our RPA platform, and they chose to go with an intelligent OCR solution. And here are some of the challenges that came up immediately for them. The number one was high setup cost. Majority of the tools, OCR and intelligent OCR, AI platforms, all these are designed for developers, not business users. And you need to, it had a high setup cost. Just to give you an example, if you're a large enterprise, you have thousands of vendors or customers you deal with. Each one will have their own format for purchase order. Each one will have their own format for invoicing. And OCRs do well when the structure remains the same, but they don't perform well in variable formats. So there was a lot of variability, and they found it was taking 4 to 6 hours to set up each vendor, inconsistent performance, hard to troubleshoot, and poor support. So 6 weeks into the year, they came to us and said, can you help? And we brought in IQBot into the solution, and the results were fantastic. They found the setup was a breeze. It's designed for business users, 4 times faster. They were able to automate 20% of their PO volume in just 5 weeks and had 100% ROI within that 5-week period. 8 FTEs were redeployed to other work in that 5-week period. Today, they are at 33% of the order volume automated, and they're on track to automate 50% of the order volume by the end of the year. The next thing they tracked is, hey, this is great. Now, can we get analytics? I have so much great data on orders flowing through this bot. But when they looked at feeding that data into their existing analytics platform, they have OB installed. They estimated for a business user, it'll be business group would be 20 to 30K overhead per bot, 2 months cycle time working with IT to log that data, and 3 to 4 weeks of development. And that means even then they'll get insights once a week at most in the most warehouses. They went with our embedded analytics, 0 incremental cost, less than 3 hours each bot. Could have dashboards analyzing every piece of data flowing in real time. So the power of that is if you have spike in order volume, you know it in the moment. You have insights within minutes that you are experiencing upcoming. You can deploy new servers and scale up your workforce in real time in response to a growing need before it gets out of hand. Rather than waiting a week to get that insight, you have it in real time. Instant dashboards and real time were the big benefits. Now they're expanding. Their goal is to get to 100 bots by Q1 of next year, and they're well on their path and taking this automation to cognitive automation to other areas like invoice processing and so on. So why did we feel compelled to build a cognitive automation solution on our own? A lot of people will say, there's so many AI experts out there, 2,000 companies working on AI. There are AI platforms, and they are intelligent OCR solutions. Why are you building it? Why are you reinventing the wheel? Because we tried to use them first to solve the business problem. We partnered with every cloud AI provider. We have 25 bots available in our bot store, so you can integrate with them. But the problem we found is when we empower the business users, they are not developers. They are not data scientists. They are not AI experts. They want a tool that can harness the power of AI without requiring them to become AI experts. So we took a narrow set of AI capabilities, computer vision, NLP, fuzzy logic, and machine learning, and we packaged it together into narrow set of AIs to solve problems for business users, for business processes. So we have built domain expertise in the product to solve specific things like invoice processing, financial statements, insurance claims. Also, we found when we work in banking and finance, often for business user to provision a large machine is an overhead. So our technology works on an 8-core, 16-core machine, so you can do a POC in a matter of days. In fact, one of my colleagues came here to do a POC for a bank, local bank here, and they had scheduled 5 days, and they were done in 2 days. They saw the value of it. And we have customers who've gone from concept to production in 3 weeks and realizing value from it. And then you still have the option of harnessing cloud platforms if you have access to them via our bot store, download bots that integrate with every major platform for every major AI category. So we give you a dual-pronged strategy to attach that. Here are some of the common use cases. Invoices, purchase orders are a good place to start, but there are a lot of use cases where this technology works well. And the biggest impact is, if you look at the legacy way we have automated, it's highly manual. You have people classifying. then OCR doing it, then you're validating it, and then your approval is manual. By combining RPA and cognitive, you can automate end-to-end the entire process and get 75% plus straight-through processing for many processes. So what are some of the best practices that we have learned over the years? Number one mistake people make is taking too complex a process. They think, AI is so powerful, let's take the most complex process and try to solve it. That is totally the wrong approach. You want to identify a high ROI, simple process that you can't solve today. Invoices, POs are a great place to start. And the rest of the things is getting senior management buy-in. AI is data hungry, so giving a lot of examples and a lot of helps in a big way. So you can demonstrate ROI quickly and scale from there. So with that, I'd like to end this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manish. That was great. Great. Thanks. Excellent. So you're going to sit there, and we're just going to take, I know it's approaching cocktail hour here, so we're only take a couple questions, but anyone that has anything intelligent to say, we're happy to hear it. And of course, we can't see a thing, so if you maybe raise your hand.
So we have a flexible cost pricing model where it's based on the volume of documents you're processing through the cognitive piece. For the RPA piece, the cost is based on how many machines you run the automation on. So as you scale to broader VMs, so our pricing is based on VMs.
So let me give you a more straightforward answer here. If you have a bot might cost $40,000 to develop, and it might cost you to maintain it and to keep it, to support the automation, it might cost you $15,000 to $25,000 a year. So the bot has to displace some number of FTEs, or think 2,000 hours a year taken out. And normally in the back office, the economics are really good. You have one bot that costs $15,000 to $25,000 a year, and you're taking out 2.5 to 3.5 FTEs. Very, very good economics. The economics in the contact center is a little less great because you have really just an augmentation of the agent. The agent's just interacting with the bot to do things. So the productivity is a little bit less there. But that's the way to think about it. And one of the reasons it's really gotten very successful is because the economics are very much in front of you. As Manish said so well, you don't need a requirements document. You don't need a modernization project. Your skies don't darken with consultants coming in to blow up your system and rebuild it. You can look at the people you have and the hours they're expending in these low-valued activities, and because its talent is controlling existing UIs, controlling the desktop, you can get very, very quick ROI, which is what's driving the category. Do you agree with any of that?
Absolutely. I think on the RPA side, those are absolutely true, and we are seeing quicker time to value and in cognitive piece of IQ-Bot that we are putting out there, even faster ROI.
Right. So, yes, we actually have a question. That's good.
Yes, I have a question. So you talked about the RPA or the robotic process actually getting into under the covers around we'll call it the presentation logic layer, right? So I want to understand your thoughts or hear your thoughts around, are we actually introducing complexity into a system that probably could have been integrated another way, but in this particular case, we're actually driving automation through this presentation logic layer that otherwise, from my perspective, could add some complexity in the future if there's changes made to that layer.
Do you want me to take that?
And that often happens, right?
Yes. So one of the issues with this technology is that it can institutionalize a bad process. And maybe the best thing for a company to do is to actually blow up the legacy system. And a lot of RPA is around legacy systems, old Oracle versions, SAP versions, the core systems that have no business case to blow up. But sometimes you want to move to the cloud. You want to modernize. So you have to be careful in your assessment of where to apply the technology to have one filter that says, you know what, you know, if we do this bot in this one channel, and we're trying to get to omni-channel, does that make it harder and more complicated, to your point, you know, to really move to that omni-channel solution that'll really drive customer experience? Manish, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits of taking this approach is what we find is there's a disconnect between the business user and IT traditionally. We have had IT is great with technology, but the business user are the process experts. So often, if you try to automate a process, the IT and the process of collaboration between IT and business can take time. By using RPA, actually IT gets instant visibility on how the process actually works. You're automating the process as it, rather than trying to engineering it. What better way to understand how your process works, the tribal knowledge that's in people's mind, now you expose it, and with built-in analytics, you have complete visibility, and then you can do process mining to figure out, hey, what are the steps which I can do better in that process? So I would say, rather than, you need to do a blend of both. There are processes that need to be rebuilt from ground up, but that's a long drawn out process. Your requirements are this much, your capacity is this much to do. So RPA helps you bridge that gap.
Yep. Well, we have 0 time on the clock, and I think they're setting up some nice refreshments for us out there. So I think we'll just call it a wrap. Thank you all for all your attention. I know it's hard to sit for 3.5 hours and listen to us, but you've done a good job.
Great. Thank you.